Another big piece of this puzzle, Republican Congressman Paul Ryan, a man who may have actually managed to open the crack in the stalemate that has crippled our government. It happened at a meeting between House Republicans and the president late yesterday. But not everyone is happy with his emerging role here, nor with his plan, published in a Wall Street Journal op-ed. Senator Ted Cruz criticizing him for failing to mention one thing, and that is Obamacare. Can they all get on one page? Let's see. Joining us now is Crystal Phoenix, who's a Democratic strategist and a former communications director for John Edwards. And probably a good person to answer that question, can they all get on one page, is S.C. Cupp, the host of CNN's Crossfire. You wrote an article for CNN.com, and in it you say you support Cruz's effort to defund Obamacare, but you reject his criticism of Ryan. Why is that?
Well, let's be clear. I've never been sanguine about Ted Cruz's strategy actually working, but I admire his stance, and he's doing what he was elected to do. It's not as if Ted Cruz and Rand Paul and Mike Lee sort of manifested out of thin air. They ran a campaign against Obamacare. They won those elections, and they're doing what they were brought there to do. Now, the divide in the Republican Party is not over policy. No Republican I know likes Obamacare. They all want it repealed. The divide is over tactics, and I don't like the tactics where senators like Ted Cruz or conservative groups get together and decide who's conservative enough and who isn't. And Paul Ryan's op-ed in the Wall Street Journal was not heretical to Ted Cruz's plan. It wasn't a betrayal of it. As they point out, it didn't even mention Obamacare. It was simply discussing another objective that Republicans and conservatives have put forward and how to get there. And I think for Ted Cruz's defenders to come out and swat him down as a rhino is really unproductive and frankly fairly childish.
Okay, I see. Chris, I'm going to get you, but I want you to clarify here, because you know people harp on certain statements sometimes. You're saying that they were elected to, they're doing what they were elected to do, shut down the government?
No, as I said, they ran campaigns against Obamacare. They made promises to constituents that they would do everything they could to end it, repeal it, delay it, pick it apart, and that's exactly what they've done. Okay.
Chris, how do you feel about Paul Ryan emerging as a potential negotiation leader here?
Well, you know, I guess in the land of the blind, the one man, the one-eyed man will see. I mean, when it comes to Congress Ryan, I mean, who else can you, I guess, look for? I mean, if anyone wants to understand why the Republican Party is so difficult to negotiate with or have conversations with, how do you negotiate with a party that can't even decide who should be the negotiator? Who criticize anyone who even comes close to figuring out that maybe the smartest strategy in the world is not to shut down the government and risk a default and think there's not going to be some kind of political blowback or consequences. I mean, the notion that somehow Democrats are supposed to sit down and negotiate with a party or leadership that can't even figure out amongst itself what its tactics are, what its positions are, and that seemingly change on a day-to-day basis, it is a sad statement, but it is pretty easy to understand why we are in the position we are.
I see you want to respond.
Well, look, the predictions about how this would go, I mean, most people understood that President Obama would have absolutely no problem allowing the government to shut down because he knew it would be bad for Republicans.
That is not true.
I mean,
that's just false.
100% true.
It's not. No, it is not. It's absolutely false.
Okay, hold on. Let me moderate here. Let me moderate here, Ms. Crossfire.
Let me finish this.
No, I'm going to let you finish. But why did you say that's not true, Chris? And then, Essie, you can continue.
Why does anyone think the President of the United States would sit there and get some joy out of the fact that the government would shut down? The reality is the President. No, well, you said it was part of his strategy that he was more than happy or willing to let the government. What, he was more than willing to let the government shut down?
I am perfectly capable of explaining my point of view. I don't need either of you to put words in my mouth. If you just let me finish,
I am not putting words in your mouth. I just want you, I want you to make one clear point. I want him to respond, and then I'll let you continue to make a point, and then you can respond. But I'm not putting words in your mouth. Don't say that, Essie. I'm not putting words in your mouth.
Republican strategists from the beginning predicted that President Obama would allow a government shutdown because internally he understood rightly that it would be bad for Republicans. He's right about that. It's been bad for Republicans.
Once again, false.
Where Republicans have been right is that the president will not allow a debt ceiling default. And so that's where I think people like Paul Ryan are trying to steer the negotiation.
Let her finish and I'll let... Go ahead.
Toward that end, because the debt ceiling, whoever gets the short-term blame for a debt ceiling default, President Obama does not want to preside over that moment in American history. He's too smart for that. So some Republicans like Paul Ryan have been trying to steer the focus toward that.
Okay, good. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, this notion that President Obama wanted or allowed or was more than happy with the shutdown is nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Understand that the position that the president was put in by the Republicans, in particular by the Speaker, and actually in defense of Speaker Boehner, who actually kind of feels sorry for because he can't control about 30 to 40 of his own members. The reality here, he's put in a position where first they wanted to fund Obamacare, then they wanted to delay Obamacare, and then they're not sure what they want to do. They just want some respect out of something. So the notion of putting any of this responsibility for the shutdown on the president or the president want to do this is nonsense.